I spent 88 years on this earth being strong, strong enough to hold up a family, strong enough to work 35 years in the steel plant without a single sick day, strong enough to never cry. Not at my father's funeral, not when the mill shut down, not even when my wife, God rest her soul, took her last breath right there in that hospital bed. It took me until I was 83 years old to say 3 words to my son. 3 words he'd been waiting his whole life to hear from me. And by then, we'd lost 50 years we could never get back. My name is Frank. I'm 88. Born 1936 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, second son of a coal miner who didn't hug, didn't praise, and didn't say a word more than what the job required. I married my Margaret at 24. We had our boy Tommy in 62. I worked. I provided. By every measure my father taught me, I was a good man. What nobody told me, what my father never told me, is that providing ain't the same as being present, and being present ain't the same as being close. My father shook my hand the day I graduated high school. One handshake. That was it. That was his whole emotional vocabulary. And I thought that was the right way to be a man. That was the blueprint handed down to me. Quiet, steady, dependable, and closed up tighter than a steel drum. You didn't complain. You didn't gush. And you sure didn't say things you figured people ought to already know. So when Tommy was born and Margaret put him in my arms, I felt something so big I didn't have a word for it. It caught me off guard, truth be told. This tiny little boy, wrapped in that hospital blanket, fingers no bigger than matchsticks, breathing soft against my chest, and something in me shifted. Something warm, something powerful, something that should have come out of my mouth right then and there. But it didn't. And instead of saying it, I put it away, tucked it somewhere so deep it calcified, buried it under work schedules and responsibility and the old rules about what men were supposed to be. I told myself there'd be time later. Funny how often we tell ourselves that. I built him model planes at the kitchen table on Sunday afternoons. Little plastic fighters and bombers, the kind you had to glue careful so the wings sat straight. I taught him to throw a baseball out in the yard, showed him how to keep his elbow up and follow through. I showed up to every game. Every single game. Rain, heat, didn't matter. But I sat in the stands with my arms crossed. Didn't cheer, didn't make a fuss. Didn't stand up with the other dads when their boys made a good play. I told myself I was being steady. Thought I was showing quiet pride. Thought my presence was enough. Thought he knew. But Tommy didn't know. How could he? Kids don't read minds. They read faces. They read tone. They read what you give them and what you don't. When he'd come home with his report card, all A's except one B, you know what I said? I didn't say good job. Didn't say, I'm proud of you. I said, what happened with the math? Lord. The way he nodded like he understood something bigger than math in that moment. I didn't catch it then. Or maybe I didn't want to. I'm 88 years old and I'm still ashamed of that. Still hearing the sound of his face falling. That quiet disappointment kids try to hide but never really can. He's 61 now, and if I'm being honest, I think some part of him still hears it too. I told myself I was doing it all for them. That was the story I stuck to. The overtime, the double shifts, the weekends when the meal was short-handed. A man provides. That's what I was taught. That's what I believed. Margaret would stand in the kitchen doorway sometimes, dish towel in her hands, and say, Frank, Tommy's got a recital Thursday. And I'd barely look up from my boots and say, I'm working Thursday. He'll understand. He didn't understand. He was 8 years old. All he understood was the empty chair where his father was supposed to be. The seat that stayed empty more often than not. Kids don't measure love in paychecks. They measure it in presence. Took me most of my life to figure that out. The mill closed in 87. Just like that, 35 years of my life, and they handed me a pension and a handshake. Same kind of handshake my father gave me. Firm, brief, final, like closing the door. The plant didn't grieve me, didn't miss me, Didn't even remember me by 88. New men came in. Old lockers got cleared out. My name disappeared off the schedule like it had never been there. But I had missed 1,000 Thursday evenings for that place, 1,000 bedtimes, 1,000 chances to say, "I'm proud of you, son." I traded all that for a foreman's badge and a pension. I'm too old and too lonely to spend properly. That's a trade nobody explains to you when you're young and trying to be responsible. Tommy and I didn't have some big fight. That's what people expect. Yelling, doors slamming, something dramatic you can point to. It wasn't like that. It was slower, quieter, harder to notice until it was already done. Every year, the phone calls got a little shorter. Every Christmas, the visit got a little briefer. Conversation stayed polite, careful, like we were both walking around something neither of us knew how to name. He married a good woman, Linda, smart, kind. The kind of woman Margaret always hoped he'd find. They had 2 kids, my grandkids, fine boys, and I'd see them maybe twice a year. I'd shake the boys' hands, just like my father shook mine, and I'd wonder why they seemed nervous around me, why they stayed close to their dad instead of climbing up beside me on the couch. Margaret tried to tell me. Lord, she tried more than once. She'd say, "Frank, just hug him. Just tell him you love him." And I'd wave it off like it was nothing, like it was obvious. "He knows," I'd say. "Men don't need to say it." That right there, that was the stupidest sentence I ever spoke. And I spoke it for 50 years. So I'm talking to you now. You sitting there watching this. Maybe you're the son or daughter who's been waiting for words that never quite come. Or maybe you're the father who thinks, same as I did, he knows, she knows. Let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way at 83 years old, sitting in a cardiologist's office with cold paper under me and bright lights overhead, hearing words like significant blockage, and we should talk about your options. Time gets real clear in rooms like that, real honest. They don't know, not unless you say it, not unless you look them in the eye and say the actual words out loud where they can land and take root. Because silence, the kind of silence I gave my son his whole life, it doesn't sound like strength to the person receiving it. It sounds like distance. It sounds like indifference. It sounds like they don't matter enough for the words. After the heart scare, Tommy drove 5 hours to be at that hospital. 5 hours without hesitation. Walked into that room looking just like me. Big hands, same jaw, same slight lean when he walks. And I looked at this 61-year-old man, this boy I had held as a baby, and it hit me all at once, what I'd almost taken to the grave. Something in me just broke open. All those years of holding steady finally gave way. I said slow and clear so there wouldn't be any mistaking it, Tommy. I love you. I am proud of you. I have always been proud of you. And this 61-year-old man, my son, put his head on my shoulder and cried like a boy. We've had 5 years since then. 5 good years. Better than the 55 before. Not perfect. You don't erase that much quiet overnight. But warmer. Closer. Real. In a way it never was before. We call every Sunday now. Sometimes we talk about nothing important. Weather. Grandkids. Old ball games. But underneath it, there's something that wasn't there before. He told me things about his childhood I didn't know. Things that sat heavy on my chest when I heard them. How he used to save my work gloves just to smell them when I was on night shift. Said it made him feel like I was still in the house. How he'd sit at the top of the stairs listening to Margaret and me talk, just to hear my voice. That boy wanted me so badly, and I was right there. And I was 1,000 miles away. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to put down whatever's in your hands when you're done watching this. And I need you to call somebody. Your son. Whoever it is you've been meaning to say the thing to. Say it today. Don't wait for a blockage. Don't wait for a hospital room. Don't wait until you're 83 wondering how much time you've got left to fix what could have been simple all along. You say it now, while you both still have the time to build something with it. If this found you today, share it with somebody who needs it. Leave a comment. Tell me who you're going to call. I read every one. And if you want more of these, subscribe. I got 88 years of things I should have said sooner. Might as well say them now while I still can. God bless you.